Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world, and a warm welcome to the annual conference of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. My name is Weinberg, and I'm the director of the School of Design Thinking, the so-called HPI D-School at the Hasso Plattner Institute in Potsdam in Germany, and I'm also the president of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. And I'm happy to welcome you together with Richard Perez, our Secretary General and founding director of the HPI D-School in Cape Town in South Africa. We will guide you through the first part of the program today. And let me share a slide here. I hope that works. So this is now the second year in a row that we have held this conference online. In previous years, we were at the HPI headquarters, somehow our virtual headquarters at Hudson Yards in New York. And there we had about 120 attendees. That is what the floor fits. And this year we have over 1,400 people registered online. Last year we had about half of that crowd. And we are really, really happy to have so many people from all around the world here joining us. We founded the GDTA 4 years ago at the 10th anniversary of the HPI D-School with the goal of anchoring design thinking more deeply in the international educational landscape, networking innovative educational institutions, intensifying research about design thinking, and also further developing the design thinking mindset globally. And we have set up different initiatives like the Coaches Exchange Program and also the Global Design Thinking Workshop, which we started from the very beginning. And we have right now, there's the start of another Global Design Thinking Workshop next week together with an NGO called People-Centered Internet in the United States as a project partner. And yes, we do big events like the conference here, but we do also monthly events like the GDTA Spotlight, where we invite speakers from our network. And I would like to invite you to this kind of events. It's all free. It's once a month, and this month is the conference. And then we do the large conferences once a year together with our yearly meeting. Please sign up for our GDTA mailing list on the GDTA.org website. And if you have a look at the members here, the Global Design Thinking Alliance now includes 24 academic institutions in 5 continents. And this conference today is a result of worldwide cooperation of volunteers. There are no paid GDTA staff. No one gets a fee. Everything is based on voluntary work of many enthusiasts around the globe. A big thank you to all program curators and presenters, and especially to Steffi Schwertfeger. She is responsible for the organization and is now sitting with the production team in Potsdam, in Germany, at the HPI. And we all hope that the technical infrastructure will hold out for the day, and also our nerves. Actually, on Monday, we had a complete breakdown of the internet system in Potsdam at the Hasso Plattner Institute at the whole university for a half day. And we were actually trying to find a rescue plan for today, but keep fingers crossed, it will work today. And we have a slight look here at the conference agenda. Big thank you also to all the speakers from all over the world. They also come without a fee, and they're all live here with us on the Hop-In platform. A few words about the platform itself. The talks take place all on the main stage. There are no parallel sessions on purpose. We just want to focus on one stream and take advantage of the event chat and the Q&A feature. At the end of each talk, we will try to deliver selected questions to the speakers. also take advantage of the networking feature in the platform and visit our expo booths. There you can meet with all the members and different institutions. We do a recording of all conference sessions, and the video summary will be available on the GDTA website sometime after the conference. We have also 2 visual recorders, Matthias Süß and Stefan Lomp, who will do live illustrations of all our sessions today. Those will be made available later along with the video documentation to all of you. We have also prepared a virtual guest book for you. Please follow the link. We'll provide you in the chat and add some comments and likes and wishes on the Miro board. We are providing a virtual whiteboard which allows you to add some comments and notes. But now let's go live to South Africa, to Richard Perez. We just check here, go out of that, to Richard Perez, director of the HPI D-School in Cape Town and co-founder and secretary general of the Global Design Thinking Alliance, the GDTA, since early 2021. And hello, Richard. Welcome to South Africa, to Cape Town. How are you doing?
Oh, very well, thanks, Uli. Yeah, spring is in the air in Cape Town, so we're looking forward to a summer, but all very well down here, down south. Thank you. I think we've got a video we're going to quickly play. Here we go. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Yeah, welcome to the new home of the Global Design Thinking Alliance Secretariat. As Uli mentioned, my name is Richard Perez. I'm the founding director of the Hasso Plattner School of Design Thinking at the University of Cape Town in South Africa. Just want to first say many thanks to Dato Lee and his team at D-School Genevasi for holding the Secretariat flag over the last 4 years. They've done a fantastic job in the early formation years of the GDTA and really grown from strength to strength over the years. As Uli mentioned, 24 institutions spanning across the globe, 5 continents, really, really exciting to see how this sort of community around the world is growing and sharing, as Uli mentioned. You know, this is not a paid-for platform. It's really everybody giving their time, and the sharing and the collaboration and the co-creation is really exciting to see. Also, thank you to Uli and his team for the transition across from Genevasi. As you can see in our video, we're in the process of building a new facility at the University of Cape Town. And it's been great working with Uli and the team in just moving the the Secretariat across here and starting to plan a little bit for the future. And you might have seen a snippet, and Uli and I will talk a little bit about it later, but a snippet for next year, 2022, and planning on bringing the Decon Festival down to Cape Town, and really combining that with an opening event of the new facility, and really welcome everybody to Cape Town next year. At the moment, we're planning around September. Great time of the year to be in Cape Town, and yeah, looking forward to 2 or 3 days of design thinking, conferencing, and sharing, and hopefully we'll be able to have next year's GDTA conference face to face, COVID depending. So it's a great privilege to welcome you all to the 2021 GDTA conference. I think it's, as Uli said, it's the second year in a row we're doing it online. We usually gather together in New York at this time of the year, but it's great to see how this move into an online environment has just opened up the opportunities. And as Uli mentioned, over 1,000 signed up participants for today's conference. So it's really, really exciting, and hoping as we go into the future how we can bring in a sort of a blended environment where we can still offer access to those that can't physically be in a place, but also how do we physically get together. And so today's conference, focusing around Policy Innovation Lab, really exciting. It's got, I think that if you look at our speaker list, it's really heartwarming to see how design has found its way into really interesting environments, really complex environments. I think if you look at the evolution of design and the way it's been disrupted, like every other discipline, the fact that design can now play such a prominent role in the development of strategies and development of policies in very complex political, governmental type environments is a great testament to the power and the value that design can bring. And also the fact that it's not just for those that have studied design professionally in design and art colleges, but actually everybody can practice this way of thinking and this mindset. So really excited to hear the different perspectives and the different stories that we'll hear from across the world over the next 12 hours. And as Uli mentioned, starting in Australia and Asia, moving across Africa, Europe, North America, Latin America. Wow, where on earth do you get such a diverse perspective of design thinking, and specifically in this context of policy? So myself, really looking forward to it. I'm going to be back at around about 11 o'clock GMT time, I think it is, to introduce the Africa portion. But otherwise, yeah, please enjoy the day. Hop in and hop out, as they say. And see you all a little bit later on. Uli, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Richard. And maybe we can stay on stage together here for a while and to chat about the conference in general. So last year we were focusing on the topic of where is design thinking moving towards, from a product design perspective, like 20 years ago, service design, communication design was coming in, organizational design, and we are seeing a lot of impact now through the past years. We are up and running in Potsdam since 14 years now with the School of Design Thinking, training students, but also training professionals in an intense way. And we are seeing a lot of impact in the industry. And last year, our focus was on a kind of value-based and ethical-based design, because that is where we see design thinking also moving towards. And that was this year, it was for us somehow a normal next step to look into policy making. Because when my experience was, when we started, we had a very, very intense focus on industry. We got addressed by large corporations, global players, small and medium-sized companies, organizations. It was a lot about innovation, product innovation, service innovation. But through the past years, we got more and more approached also by governmental institutions, by administrations, which we thought it is highly interesting to see there is a change going on there as well. Do you see similar things in South Africa? What is your impression? I think you started a little bit later than we did, and also, yeah, what is your impression? How is that moving?
Yeah, thanks, Uli. Back in 2014, I worked in local government for 3 years, embedding design-led mindset in local government. And I think what was really exciting back then is that local governments were already starting to see the value of a human-centered approach, or in their case, a citizen-centered approach to developing services and products for their citizens. I think the complexity of this space, the policy and the public sector space, is the nature of government and the politics. And it's such a complex environment in which to bring in the mindsets of a design-led approach. Little things, the concept of prototyping and failure is sort of really frowned upon in public sector. So I think the big challenge that one has across the world, and not just in South Africa, but in some ways, how do you deconstruct design thinking and reconstruct it in a language that local governments is comfortable with, or policymakers are comfortable with? And so I think it's a very humbling environment to be in, because you really have to engage with others, different languages, different professional languages, different ways of working, different ways of thinking. And I think that's the really exciting part about the role that human-centered design and design can play, is to say, well, how do we strip it down and rebuild it in a very specific context, public sector, political context?
Yeah, I was just here on the backstage to our to the Open platform, and I got a little bit distracted. So
So we can see the live from here.
Sorry, I needed to switch some windows here, because I'm on the Hop-in platform at the same time, and yeah, when we saw what happened with the industry, and seeing the change we can actually support the large corporations with, I started thinking very early already, why don't we see the same activities going on in the government? Looking at the German government, there is no doubt that digitalization was kind of slept through a little bit. So we're a little bit behind compared to what companies did. In the meantime, in the last 30 years, there was a lot of development, now a lot of change also in addressing people, addressing the customer in a different way. And if you look at the digital services we are seeing right now offered by large platforms, it is so actually convincing that they are addressing the needs of specific people very individually, and what else could be expected by a government addressing the citizen needs in the same way. So I'm in digitalization since more than 30 years. My life became digital with in the early 80s of the last century. So, and I was always hoping that there is a political shift, and I see that now happening. Now that step by step through the past years, I see, and at least looking at Germany, I see ministries moving in this direction, starting to become more agile, and we learn about that in the Europe section. representatives from the German government, and also we see that from regional governments, from the cities, from the mayor of Potsdam, for example. We are together with him. We are since about 2 years kind of helping them to bring agility and also connectedness to the citizens into the city government. There is already a little design thinking space in the city of Potsdam, in the mayor's office, where some enthusiasts in the administration are working. So we are very happy with that, but we are working on a larger scale design thinking lab, which is then open to also to the public and to address issues which are critical in the discussion of the community. So that is close by. That is for us a little bit like a prototype also what could happen in other cities, and I think it is for today. It is an incredible opportunity to learn. That was my intention to move on with policy innovation, to get ideas from other countries, to get an idea of how are people solving these kind of complex political problems and governmental issues in different countries in a different way, with a different cultural background, the different approach, but they all have to deal with people. They all have to deal with power. They all have to deal with connectivity between the people. They all have to deal with problems. They all had to deal with pandemic. And that was a showcase for me for how different governments are approaching that. And that was actually last year the core of a lot of the discussions in our conference. And this year, I think it's getting a little bit more abstract now. And let me have a look at the backstage now and hand over to Richard, to you, because I need to move out now out of the Zoom call here, and I leave the stage to you to move to the hop-in platform in order to not get here this the sound issues. So I go out for now, and see you later. And I hand it over to Richard.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Uli. I think you raise a very good point, and what's going to be really exciting about the lineup of today's speakers is just a mix of those that are in leadership positions and those that are in more administrative positions. But just like organizations, private sector organizations, I think the role of leadership in bringing and instilling this mindset and this approach is such a critical aspect. From the experiences I've had, importance in that city level of mayors being brought into design thinking or human-centered design is such a critical aspect. If you don't have that leadership buy-in or air cover, it's actually very hard to forge ahead with the practices that the design discipline can bring. I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because one of being human-centered, it means that one has to go and engage more with citizens and listen to them and co-create and design and develop with them. And that brings in a sense of fear to a lot of administrations, because the complexity that lies outside there far outweighs often the tools and the mindsets that governments have. And the concept of developing a human-centered approach to developing a policy actually often breathes the fear of God into public administration. So I think there's a huge role that all of us at the GDTA can play across the world in training and capacitating public sector and those that work in these very complex environments with the mindsets and the tools and frameworks of human-centered design. And it'll take time, I think, because we're going to hear stories from across the world, and some countries and cities, organizations are much further ahead than others. But I think this is the beauty of the Global Design Thinking Alliance, is how we can start to share and almost accelerate that learning Certainly in South Africa, we're behind in many ways when it comes to citizen-centric design, developing policies which are more human-centered. There are pockets of excellence, and I think what's important is for us to leverage off those pockets of excellence and to celebrate them and to communicate them, and to really start to build that competency across the globe in some ways. We're also seeing being based down in the global south on the Africa continent, we've seen a lot more interest in development agencies wanting to bring in human-centered design into policies and working with local governments and regions, and that's really very exciting to see. So I do think the world is waking up to the need, and I do think that we have a role to develop the right types of training programs and capacitation approaches, so that governments can understand how to embrace this and how to bring it into often very traditional, politically heightened environments, where the fear of failure is it's a big no-no, and suddenly to sort of change the way we develop policies or we engage with our citizens is actually quite scary to many administrations. And I think this sort of fear of failure and how we embrace this sort of agile approach for governments and to develop policies, and how we manage the risk of doing things differently and doing things in a new way. And certainly one doesn't have to go to a design or art college to learn this. It is something we all have the capacity to adopt. But there is a level of exposure and training and practice which needs to go with that. And I think that's the role that we need to play across the world as an alliance. And really looking forward to the different stories. And hopefully from today's session, we can start to see more collaboration in this space and sharing, and even taking it up to the next level, where we start to look at these development agencies, these global development agencies, whether it be the likes of GIZ, even the United Nations, and start to approach this from a more strategic perspective, I think, rather than sort of the pockets of excellence that we're often going to see, or going to see coming through the discussions and the stories that we hear today. So where are we now? We're about 9. I'm based in South Africa, so we're about 9:30, but I know everybody around the world is, some of you are probably settling down for the evening, some of you are still having to wake up, but I think we're about to get going in a couple of minutes time. And I think just from my side, I'm not going to be here the whole day, but certainly going to look at some of the recordings for the latter part of the afternoon, and we'll certainly drop in so I think some really exciting work being done in the Latin America side, which I'm really excited to hear. And I think specifically for us in the South African focused global South, the complexity and the diversity that we have in our country, and looking forward to sort of seeing stories from other countries and seeing if from our side we can start to learn and start to collaborate across different regions.